Hey, a while back I made a video going over D.O.T and a little PSA about it. From that video, I got a few comments, asking a couple of questions, and I saw some stuff myself that I wanted to test again. And while testing this stuff, I actually discovered a way to do infinite D.O.T. So we'll get to that in a second, but first we'll give you the little recap of that video. Essentially it was a PSA saying you can't stack two types of damage over time. Two Witherhoards, only one person gets the damage, as you can see here, and then in the damage report, same thing with two Osteos. First person gets the poison, second person procs the poison, skip to the damage report, we get nothing. Now, the comment that I really wanted to respond to, and the mystery I wanted to solve, was if, even though the second Witherhoard doesn't get the damage, if it still procs things like Starfire Protocol or any other damage-based mechanics. What I had seen myself was many top players have multiple Witherhoards on a team when doing things like melting Nezarec. And as this comment shows, it says that they also claim that multiple Witherhoards gave them grenade energy. So I decided to go in and test it myself with 3 of us, just to make sure there's no funky overloading the boss with the amount of Witherhoards inside of it and it starts ticking, whatever. Made sure to have a full fire team of Witherhoards. So Lee shoots it, then JP shoots it, and I shoot Witherhoard, and then we all threw our grenades as soon as we got it. As you can see, Lee is the only one actually throwing grenades. Even after the second stick, if he's the first person to stick Witherhoard, he's the only one that throws grenades, while JP and I just don't get the grenade energy. So that mystery is solved. Seems to just be a coincidence. And for anybody claiming that they actually did get the energy back, it's likely just from Wolfpack rounds, since you probably had a galley on your team. So that was the most pressing response I wanted to make about that D.O.T video. I will be testing pretty much every type of D.O.T later in this video, so you can check down below for the chapters and go to what you want to see. But now what I want to bring up is the infinite D.O.T, which is probably why you're here, it's really cool, actually. The way it works is with Osteo Striga. If you proc the poison and then switch to any weapon with Vorpal, the poison will actually just re-proc itself. As you can see in the numbers, it'll start over at a lower one, and you can also see it on the enemy. It does that pulse of poison. And there's quite a lot of applications of this, like long DPS phases and Starfire Protocol builds, as well as a lot of stuff that I'll theorize on later in the video. And while I'm talking about Osteo Striga, one finding from that last D.O.T video is that Osteo Striga does more tick damage than Witherhoard. And having an infinite Osteo Striga tick, without needing to reproc it, eliminates a lot of the weaknesses of having to use Osteo. So as for the first application that comes to mind, using it with Starfire. In this clip, I recrafted my Bump of the Night to have demo Vorpal. And after I proc Osteo once, I didn't have to switch back to reproc the poison. I could just focus on rocket and then spam grenades. And that's really cool. Makes it really simple to do. And also, the benefits of having an Osteo as your primary means you get more heavy drops, so things like high level content where you're using that heavy, good to have. And I think you guys might want to start looking into this too. So we're just waiting for this damage phase to end. And with that damage phase over, these are the numbers. It hits almost 2.2 million. And just to compare that quickly to the usual Witherhoard with Bump in the Night and Chill clip, it's the damage phase you've seen a million times. I actually did miss a rocket there. I'm sure you saw and might be typing in the comments right now. But we can just add to the final number to see an accurate amount. But again, this is really just for comparison. It's not actually like supposed to be the numbers. There's other channels out there that do graphs and stuff if you want to see that. But with that damage phase over, Bump of the Night hits 1.9 mil and about 1.1 if you add the 100k of the rocket I missed. So having compared those two damage types, you can make your own decision of which you think is better. But of course, you can't deny that having an infinite D.O.T could be crazy in a lot of situations. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm thinking of right now where you can proc poison on some type of super high health boss and a Grandmaster or whatever, whip out a Vorpal weapon and then just hide, and that thing will just die. Like, you can just sit there. The game will play it for you. You don't have to do anything. Like, actually, what comes to mind is the Belmont from the Glassway. I think that would be nice. However, when taking that infinite D.O.T into a damage phase or whatever with other fireteam members, there's one thing to know, and that is freezing your enemy will get rid of your Osteo tick damage. As you can see here, my friend had shield clip, the damage goes away. So that's not good, especially if you have teammates using shield clip on rockets or fusion or whatever. That will ruin your infinite D.O.T. But as long as you're communicating that, it'll be great, and it'll make things a lot simpler. And then, of course, with the findings of the last video, don't stack Osteos because you won't get the damage, but Osteo and a Witherhoard is perfectly fine. So I'll have more thoughts on this infinite D.O.T at the end of the video in the outro chapter, if you'd like to skip to that. But now we're going to continue to the rest of the D.O.T types and how they affect each other. So starting with a comment I saw a couple times, going over Monarque, and if Monarque was a viable option to use as a D.O.T weapon, especially for things like Starfire, and unfortunately it just isn't. It doesn't tick long enough for it to be useful to proc anything that requires damage. That being said, it's still a really good exotic to just use as your primary, and all things considered, it's not terrible damage. Next, I just wanted to test if Thorn and Osteo stacked their damage, or if it canceled out because they're both poison. And something funky happened. Thorn actually resets the poison on Osteo, but doesn't cancel it out. And my friend using Thorn was still getting his poison ticks as well. So they both work together, albeit Thorn not a good D.O.T weapon, but it also refreshes the timer and resets the poison down to its starting number. So that's just kind of a peculiar thing that happens. Moving on, we've got Scorch, or Burn, and how that works. And this one is fairly interesting. The way Scorch and its Burn works is the person that first gets Scorch will get all of the numbers. So what happened here was I threw a Firebolt grenade, I scorched it, and then my friend with Roaring Flames punched it to add Scorch stacks. And I'll play it again. As you saw, the burn damage actually does go up by him adding Scorch to it. So the Scorch stacks are getting added to the boss, but I'm seeing the damage that my friend would have seen. So conclusion, yes, you can stack Scorch, but only one person will see the increase in damage. Next up, staying in Solar, we've got the Solar Grenades. And the way this works is the grenades themselves, if my friend hits the boss first, and then I hit the grenade, I don't get damage numbers until he walks out of it. So same thing, only one type of D.O.T at a time. And then in response to another comment, we've got Anarchy. And I'm sure most of the veteran players watching know that yes, Anarchy is fine. You stack 2, you both get damage numbers. Everything's okay with that, and you can do whatever else. And I pull out a Vorpal weapon. Anarchy does not increase with Vorpal. So there's no funky stuff like what happens with that infinite Osteo stuff. And so that is all the testing done from the comments and the stuff that I had seen. But I'd like to go back to that infinite Osteo D.O.T trick. Honestly, it's kind of insane. As I think about it more, there's a lot of situations this can be added to. Especially things like boss cheeses. I don't know if you guys were playing during, I think, the second week of this season, but we had the Mars Heist Battleground as the Nightfall. And that was hard. It was really annoying. And there were a couple cheese spots in that boss room. And for other Nightfalls, I'm sure Cheese Forever will have you covered. But what you could do is you could probably proc that boss with Osteo and then get into one of those little spots and you're fine. You're perfectly okay. Even now, with the Avalon Override mission for the Excalibur, there's a ton of little spots hidden all around the arena that you can go where you're pretty much safe from Brachion. And you can trigger that poison and then hide with your Vorpal weapon and just let the game kill it. Just let it just tick to death. You can also do the same thing with champions. Things like Unstoppables. I'm sure Overloads will probably heal through it. But like for Unstoppables, you start the poison and you screw off. You're good. So this is like super interesting. And also really curious. I don't know. I'd really like to know what you guys think about this. Should we call it an exploit? The bug? Just infinite damage over time sounds really good. Before even applying it, just saying it out loud sounds like some game-breaking glitch. But if you guys have any questions or want me to test anything, I'd be 100% willing to test it out and respond to you in the comments. And maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's some weapon that actually does D.O.T that I'm just not even thinking of. And let me know. Are you guys going to try out this infinite D.O.T thing? Are you going to find places to use it? If there's anything you can think of, let me know in the comments, because I would honestly love to cheese the hell out of this game and use your guys' recommendation. And as I take this video to the end, if you'd like to support this video, this channel, and you can't think of a comment below Infinite Osteo. And of course, if you like my stuff, a subscription and a like on the video, you know, it goes a long way. Thank you so much. I hope to see you around.